All right, it's 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Welcome to the Oconee County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, March 30th, 2021. If you are joining us virtually to comment or ask questions during the public comment portions of the meeting, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. After a moment of silence, Mark Thomas will lead us in the pledge to the flag. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first item of business tonight will be to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is statement and remarks from citizens. This is for anything not on our agenda for tonight. Does anyone wish to speak? Anyone virtually?
No, right there.
Very good. Any statements or comments from commissioners?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Very good. We got several boards that have openings. We have the Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Addictive Disease Planning Board. This is a regional board with one appointment. Oconee County Animal Service Advisory Board, 3 appointments. Keep Oconee County Beautiful Commission, 4 appointments. Family and Children Services, 1 appointment. Tourism and Visitors Bureau, 4 appointments. Deadline to apply is May 11th, 2021 at noon, and you can do that online. Also, we have new flood hazard maps for Oconee County. Oconee County's flood risk information has been revised and updated. Flood hazard maps are ready for review. In-person virtual meetings are available by appointment only and can be reserved on the website. If you go to oconeecounty.com, we'll have a link to that. They're asking that you reserve your appointment between March 29th and April 14th. With that, we'll move to the next item, which is discuss the Oconee County Economic Development Strategy. Courtney?
Thank you all for having me today. It's been a while. I think that 2020 sent us all into a bit of a different nature of things, so I'm glad to be back. But I wanted to kind of update you on, since the last time I've been here, which was November of 2019, I think. So it's been quite a while. And like I said, 2020 economic development, we got our plan. We presented to you the plan that was developed by the task force that was appointed by the commissioners. But then we had our plans for 2020, and because of COVID, everything kind of changed. But that didn't mean that we as a chamber changed what we were doing. It just meant that we weren't here face to face in front of you guys as much as we would have liked to have been. So I want to take a few minutes to kind of go over with you what we've been doing this year based on the strategies that were approved by the task force that was appointed, and give you an update on kind of where those things are. So our goal really for 2020, once March 13th hit, and which is kind of an eerie thing to think about because our state of the county was March 12th. Then March 13th of last year is when really our whole world changed. So it's eerie that tomorrow is our state of the county, but I feel like we're in a much better position, and we won't have anything like that coming on the heels of that. But what we have been doing is really focusing on how we help our businesses during a pandemic world. So we had plans that we had laid out. We were going to do all kinds of different things, develop a website we were going to do, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But it changed because our plans got thrown to the wind because we were asked by businesses to help in a major way. So that's what we did. The strategy that I'll talk about first is support, nurture, and invest in our existing businesses. And I don't think in my 15 years of doing this, I've ever focused more than I did in 2020. There were so many businesses with so many needs, different needs that we'd never seen before, things that we never envisioned that we would have to be thinking about on March 13th and beyond. But when our businesses needed us most in Oconee and beyond, we were there to help. So we had to immediately, on the 16th of March, we switched to virtual programming. The chamber offices shut down, but that didn't mean that our chamber staff shut down. We literally moved our offices to our homes and held as many virtual meetings as humanly possible. One of the things I was most proud about that we were able to accomplish is working with our counties in the region, our cities in the region, our sheriffs in all of the counties in our region, to host a conference call, Zoom call, with the CEOs of both Athens hospitals. That was the first time that all of those parties had been on the same call at the same time, hearing the same information from those who are seeing it on the front line. And I can't tell you how much that meant to our regional counterparts, also to us as a community, so that we could band together and move forward to best help our business community as well. We also worked diligently on regional and state phone calls to make sure that we knew exactly what was happening. I think we were on the calls with the governor through the Georgia Chamber in order to best help our businesses, because there were new things rolling out, guidelines that were rolling out. And I think we were on over 35 of those within a 2-month period. We first focused heavily on linking our businesses to the financial funding that they needed. So luckily, we have tremendous financial organizations in our community that stepped up to the plate and helped us to link our business community to get the PPP funding, the EDIL funding, and other grants and loans to help them get through the pandemic, especially when we were all quarantined at home. We also worked diligently with our healthcare professionals. I can't say enough about our 2 hospitals that are not located necessarily in Oconee County, but they certainly serve our community in a big way. And they stepped up in a big way to help us translate all the things that we were hearing, but on a real-time basis. So I can't say enough thanks to them for helping us continue to get information out that our businesses, but not just our businesses, our community needed to hear. We assisted with more workforce needs than I can ever begin to tell you, things that we, again, had never thought about. But when a business is forced to quarantine certain individuals and their staff then becomes a staff from a staff of 5 to a staff of 2, things turn in a bad way really quickly. So we worked to make sure that we were there to help them find out, to help find them temporary work, who could come in and step up to the plate. We also helped them with workforce needs in regard to finding out ways to kind of navigate new paths with fewer employees. We had people who would call in tears saying we're not sure we can keep our doors open, but we seemed to find more ways than one to help them. And luckily, Oconee County did not suffer as greatly as other communities across the country in regard to businesses closing. In 2021, I think that this is a goal. So those are things we did in 2020 in regard to that. But in 2021, this won't stop. We'll continue to focus on those businesses because now we've got to learn how to handle the post-pandemic world. We've got to help them realize that there are still things that they can do to increase their workforce, to get everybody back together and safely back together. And so we're really looking forward to that. We're also making sure that we stay up to date from the state perspective and federal at this point on resources that are valuable to them. Actually, we were talking earlier today and before this meeting about the CTAE program in Oconee County. So I deem that a priority for us going forward from a chamber perspective and certainly from an economic development perspective. We know that those are vital to be able to link our business community directly with our high schools, both public and private. But we have tremendously strengthened our CTAE connection with Oconee County schools to link our business community directly to our K through 12 curriculum to make sure that if there are any gaps, how's the best way that we can fill those needs and fill those gaps so that we're best serving our business community and making sure that our students are ready to hit the workforces when they graduate from either college or directly from high school. Strategy number 2 was to target professional and technology jobs. We continue to do that. We did that in 2020. It just looked a lot different. Site visits used to happen when people would come in, either by plane, by helicopter, or by car. That did not happen in 2020. Everything was done virtually, but you'd be amazed. I'm sure you've all learned to navigate your iPads really well, which is exactly what we can do here. So we can do a whole virtual visit via iPad, which makes things really easy, and you can continue moving forward with things even though you have to stay separate. And we'll continue to do that. I don't think that's something that will change going forward. I think companies have realized they can get a lot done without having to be boots on the ground immediately. They'll certainly come and check when they get that plan process, but I think we'll continue to do a lot of things virtually in works. In order to better serve our mission of targeting professional and technology jobs, this year we're going to work to create a specific economic development website. It'll house all of our available sites. It'll house the demographics, the resources, everything that you're used to seeing, which was going to be done in 2020 but had to be postponed. We will link that the county will link to our website, and the cities can do that as well if they so desire. I think this will really help us be front and center And we'll be able to update that in-house as quickly as possible. We're working constantly with developers and companies on projects in the community, which is great to see. Although things slowed in 2020, it didn't stop. We've actually seen a lot of a big uptick in people looking and considering relocations, primarily because they had time to think about it, right? So like as it might have been something that they were considering, they never really had the time to really focus on it, or it could have been pushed aside, but they realized during the pandemic that their office needs were different, that maybe they didn't need as big of a footprint, or that their business needs were changing, their programming was changing. So we're seeing that uptick, and Oconee is being looked at, so we're really excited about that. One of the things I do want to mention is, though, although we are sharing Oconee in a great way to our developers and site selectors in the state, we are making sure that we're focusing on our commercial nodes that were designated in the comp plan. So we're making sure that we find those nodes and that we look at those sites that are within to make sure, because that was approved by our citizens. In 2020, we worked with the IDA, an existing Watkinsville company. This was a big win for us, I think, in Oconee. With Taylor Iron Company, they purchased about 40 acres in our Gateway East, or Gateway Industrial Park, Gateway East, the entire side that sits behind Alexion Pharmaceuticals. That was the first sale of property in probably 15 years. That was a huge win. That's an existing company that's been in business for 30 years. They're not leaving their Watkinsville industrial site. They're merely expanding in a big way. And a subsidiary company is going to locate there. Probably 100,000 square feet of space. 25 jobs the first year, 70 plus jobs over the course of 4 years, and probably $3+ million invested. So that's great to see a homegrown company expand. That's exactly what we talked about. We're really excited about that. There are still 53 acres remaining in Gateway Industrial Park. That's Gateway West, the full track. There's Gateway East here. We've got a privately owned strip here in the middle. Then Gateway West that's still available. So we're still marketing that. We have worked tirelessly, I think, and tremendously well with the county and the cities to develop a rapid response team for economic development needs. So anytime an RFP or an RFI comes in, I can make a few phone calls. We can all gather together safely, or via Zoom to talk about what the needs are, and everybody moves at a rapid pace, which is how economic development works. So we're able to meet the deadlines that we need, and that is huge to be able to say that a community can come together and get something done, whether it's the county, the cities, you name it. We've strengthened our partnership with the county's GIS department. I cannot say enough about Matt and the hire here. He is a tremendous asset to the county, certainly a tremendous asset to me. We will continue to work with him and his team to develop interactive mapping that will allow our site selectors, state folks to better market Oconee, us to certainly better market Oconee, but also for our citizens and community members to utilize as well. The third strategy is we're leverage proximity, our relationships to UGA and UGA's focus on research and innovation. So that one was difficult, I won't lie. 2020 made it hard to really partner with UGA because they were battling all kinds of things within. Everybody was at home. Didn't mean we didn't have the conversation, but it's certainly something I think that will be strengthened even more as we roll out. So then we'll kind of roll into the identified opportunities for improvement that the task force kind of noted. A couple of things that they wanted us to focus on from an economic development perspective. One of those being a lack of economic development related incentives. So what we've been doing over the last year that gave you a lot of time to think and really kind of research ways that you can create incentives that aren't necessarily financial in nature. So whether it be expedited permitting or bond allocation where it makes sense, certain rapid response team, you name it, we've been filling our toolbox full of things that will help businesses get through this process quickly, seamlessly, and certainly in the best interest of our people. So the other kind of gap that we saw the task force deemed was a highly residential tax base. Obviously, that's not going to change overnight. Businesses will help create new businesses, or expansion of businesses will help balance that out over time. But with Taylor Iron Company expanding, there's been a number of small businesses that have relocated or opened in Oconee over the last year, which is tremendous. All of those things help in balancing out that tax digest. So we'll slowly start to see a more manageable balance over time. And as things continue to pick up, we'll see them over. The other thing that was noted was there were some rigid zoning restrictions. We have worked with our county and the cities on looking at ordinances where it may have seemed an impediment to do business, but I can say that 99% of the time when we look at ordinances or we have a question, and we ask the county and or cities in this case as well, to look at it, they're more than willing to do that, but it's always in the best interest of the community. So it doesn't mean it always happens. It's just, hey, have we considered this? Is there a new way of thought? Have we thought about doing this? We used to not do this, but now this is a thing. One of the things that we're working on with the city of Watkinsville right now is looking at brewery ordinance. Does it make sense for the city of Watkinsville? Maybe it doesn't, maybe it does. So they've developed a committee to look at that, but those are all things that we're working with them on so that we can consider ordinances that may improve our business community here and the environment to do this. So although I think that 2020 was a really difficult year for everyone, it really was successful overall. And we were able to do a lot of things, accomplish a lot of things. And I think we're setting the stage for a really prosperous 2021 and beyond. Currently, we're really focusing on helping our small businesses get back on their feet. There were a number of phone calls that we had the first part of the year where they were barely hanging on. So we're pushing the shop local, dine local, play local. Anything that you can do to help support our businesses is one of the things that we're most proud about and that we want to make sure that we're shouting from the rooftops. And that won't stop. We're also really pushing our marketing efforts so that we're targeting the industries that our task force and the commission talked about being important to us in our target industries, which are information and technology services, health science and services, and our professional and corporate services. Those seem to make the most sense for Oconee, and certainly their footprints match our resources available. So we're really excited for 2021. Although things were delayed last year, I think we'll see a big pickup in the coming weeks and months. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
We're looking for ratification. Is that kind
I think the appropriate action would be to have the strategy formally approved by the Board of Commissioners. This was presented before. This derived out of the task force that was created by the Board of Commissioners, and then 20 happened. So we're sort of revisiting. We've been operating, and the Chamber's been operating off that playbook, but I think a formal ratification of it on next week's agenda, unless there's any changes to it, would be appropriate.
very good? So this be all right for consent agenda?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment? Anyone virtually?
There we go.
Very good. Our next item is discuss the acceptance of right-of-way from TMFT Lot Investment LLC.
With your permission, I'll just, both of the next two items are just standard acceptances. We've looked at them, the planning staff's looked at them, the utility department's looked at them, or I guess I should say the water resources department. And they're all ready for acceptance, and it's just our normal formal process that we go through. And that's true for both Autumn Glen Phase 2 and also Presbyterian Homes.
Very good. Any questions of Daniel on this? All right, for consent agenda to accept. Very good. Any public comment? Anyone virtually?
There we go.
Thank you. Next item is discuss interdepartmental transfer of public works tractor to water resources to include appropriation of transferred funds. Justin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is actually a pretty simple action with a lot of complicated moving parts to it. But over the course of our budget discussions, we had a request from Water Resources for a tractor that to maintain their right-of-ways, easements, that sort of thing. If you recall, we've outsourced significant amount of roadside mowing, and so Public Works Department has some surplus tractors. Public Works and Water Resources deserve a lot of credit to putting their heads together. So the action requested is to transfer one of the tractors over to Water Resources in exchange for the market cost of $25,500. And then we would ask for the board to then appropriate that money into an area for additional striping. We will take all the striping money we can get on our roadways. We have three areas that we would like to hit this year: White Oak Drive, Old Macon Highway, and Rocky Branch Road in front of North Oconee High School. And so this is essentially a budget neutral action, but what this does is take the money out of the enterprise fund, places it into the general fund. So there's got to be an offsetting expense and revenue component to it. Ultimately, Water Resource gets what they need, and Public Works gets some money for additional striping, and it's a win for the community. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Good. Any questions on that? We are for consent agenda. Very good. Any public comment? Anyone virtually? Next item is discuss the bid award for the Edgebridge Parkway Improvement Project. Jody?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This item of business is a bid that we put out for State Route 10 Edgebridge Parkway. And it has, that intersection is consistently identified as one of our problematic areas due to complex cars exiting State Route 10 and entering Edgebridge. And there's a lot of weaving and moving going on there. And so what we're looking to do is convert the yield coming off of the ramp into a keep moving lane, and also extend the left turn lane from Edgebridge to the Oconee connector. And by doing this, we're hoping that we can reduce the number of accidents in the area. It is one that has been identified as Georgia DOT, one of their highest number of accident intersections in the area in our county. So this plan, and I know one of the types of accidents are people yielding and they start rolling. The person sitting second is watching the traffic. They're not watching the car in front of them. They think they're going, they see a gap, and they run in the back of the car in front of them. So with the keep moving, we're hoping to eliminate that conflict. But we did put this out for bid. We did, I think the board discussed it previously, and there was a placeholder assigned in the fund balance in anticipation of these improvements. But we put it out for bid, had 3 bids received. The lowest responsive bidder was Pittman Construction with a bid of $382,235.70. So Public Works would ask the board to consider award of the roadway improvements to Pittman Construction and authorize the budget transfer to fund the project. And we do recommend this award to Pittman Construction.
Very good. Any questions from Jody? Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Woodall, help me understand, because I was looking at this a few weeks ago, I guess. Will this impact those people coming from the west headed toward Athens as far as turning into for the Waffle House?
That driveway will remain open. We did look at the possibility of closing it, and at this time, we didn't want to go through the legal action of closing that driveway. So there still will be that weed that goes from people moving on the Edgebridge want to go into that driveway, but then that lane will keep moving, so there will be some weed there. But the thought is that with the cars going, and they'll see the cars on Edgebridge, we'll see the cars moving already, instead of, okay, they're stopped, let me get over, and this car thinks this was not moving. So the hope is that, and the thought is that we will reduce some of those conflicts.
So I'm just asking for my information. If that's a keep moving lane, so the person coming off the bypass, they will have the right of way to keep moving.
That's correct.
So if somebody's coming from the Atlanta side on 316 and they want to get into the Waffle House, then they would be responsible if they
Correct.
turn into that keep moving lane.
That is correct. They would be responsible for yielding and finding a suitable gap to be able to move into that lane.
Okay. I assume there'll always be a opportunity for you see these flashing signs that says, traffic change ahead. I mean, is that going to be?
We can put some signs out. We have some variable message boards, and when we do it, we can say traffic operations change ahead. Put those out temporarily until people get more used to it.
Yeah.
That's definitely something we can do in-house.
Okay. Well, I'm assuming you ought to keep an eye on that intersection, make sure it works as it has been designed to do. That's my only concern is people turning right who's been accustomed to having the right of way will no longer have the right of way. So.
It won't change terribly in that respect because you had to yield, and then as people were moving over, you still had the weed there. So if you're in the lane, you want to move over to the turn lane, you still have to look a little bit, but it will change that, so.
Well, it will change because the people that is at a yield sign right now coming off the bypass. So they had to yield for the traffic coming from the west.
We will monitor it, and if someone continues to have accidents there, we'll.
Well, yeah, I know we're trying to correct one. I didn't want to create another, so.
Right.
No, I don't think GDOT thought that was going to be as huge an issue. Because we had discussions. I mean, it's kind of, you have to wait and see, but
Yeah.
there was talk about having some kind of median or markers there to prevent that. We're going to kind of see how it works to start with before we go that drastic a step.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? It'll be all right for consent?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is that going to reflect what's on the paper we were looking at, or you said 235,000? It's 335? I just want to make sure which number is correct.
The bid is 382, 335.7.
Okay, I'm sorry. When you said it earlier, you said 235. That's why I was confused whether it was had lowered. 335 is correct.
Yeah, 382, 335.7.
Okay,
is
that's good.
correct.
That's good.
If I misspoke, I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Probably didn't have my glasses on.
I'd be the same way.
All right. Very good. We'll place that on consent agenda then. We have any public comment at this time? Anyone virtually?
No raised hand.
All right, thank you. Next item is discuss the Georgia Department of Transportation 2021 LMIG Safety Grant Action Plan. Jody?
Okay, this item of business is a safety grant, and it's the local maintenance and improvement grant is a funding mechanism that Georgia DOT has to assist with funding on local roadways. And one of the programs is a safety action plan program. It's an all-system funding program to assist local jurisdictions with mitigating local roadways that are experiencing higher crash rates. And we have a list of roads that were identified by Georgia DOT's Traffic Management Center. This funding allows for safety improvements, including striping, raised pavement markers, signage, et cetera. It's very specific to those items. The goal is to decrease crashes along the corridor. And the amount of the money they identified was $115,000 that Oconee County is eligible for. And as I said, they did provide a list of roads that were identified by the TMC. And the grant does require a 30% match. And so Public Works recommends approving the FY 2021 LMIG SAP submittal and authorizing the chairman to sign necessary documents. The financial impact is LMIG $115,000, and that the local match on that would be $50,422. That's just slightly over 30%.
Have you identified the actual project that will be submitted?
We did. It's in the application package.
Yeah, I was just trying to get it on the record.
I can pull it up and look.
Everybody doesn't.
Sure. No, I can read off the list of names you wrote.
So this money came about as part of the supplemental budget adjustment they do for the continuation of this year in January. So that was kind of a nice surprise to get that email.
Yes. And if you would like, I will go over the list of roads we had identified. One was Oconee Connector. That was from Epsbridge Parkway to State Route 316. Mars Hill Road from US 78 to Oconee Connector. Virgil Langford Road from Oconee Connector to State Route 316. Barnett Shoals Road, State Route 15 to Park County line. New High Shoals Road was US 441 to State Route 24 to State Route 186. And then part of White Oak Drive, the US 441 to Park County line. That was one that was identified in the previous item that Justin discussed too. And then Hodges Mill Road was State Route 53 Mars Hill Road. Those were the roads we submitted to, but that, if approved by the board, would be submitted.
Okay. And we'll be able to accomplish all of that with that money. Very good. Any other questions?
Yeah, a raised payment, Mark, is that the things I run over all the
Those
time?
are the factors in the center of the road, if you run over,
Okay.
and your kids are like, how many of those?
So you're not gonna do those things that grunt, that make your teeth chatter?
No, it's not the edge line or center line rumble strips.
Yeah.
It's the reflectors, the RPMs,
Okay.
the raised.
I see they're starting to put a lot of those in now on both the curb and the center lane, those, what do you call them, a rumble?
Rumble strips,
Yeah.
you know, those are, you hit those, you know it. But it does get your attention as you're leaving the roadway or crossing the center line. The fact that they give you attention to correct those issues.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. All right. Be all right for consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Any public comment? Anyone virtually? Thank you. Next item is discuss amendment to the FY '22 budget submittal plan. Wes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board. It's great to see all these seats filled here tonight. On January 26th, I presented the budget submittal plan for fiscal year 2022. The first public hearing was scheduled for May 18th in that document. I would request of the board that we amend that budget submittal plan to reflect May 25th, and that date coincides with the regularly scheduled BOC meeting date. That's my request. If there's any questions I can answer at this time, I'd be glad to, about where we stand or that first public hearing date.
Very good. Any questions? Be all right for consent agenda? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Any public comment? Anyone virtually? With that, we do have need an executive session for land acquisition and personnel matters
And potential, yeah.
and potential litigation.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss land acquisition, personnel matters, and potential litigation.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
back into regular session.
Second.
You have motion second, go back in regular session. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Saxon,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
we are adjourned. Thank you very much.